All right, team, so welcome back to SFIT. I'm Coach Taylor. I'll be taking you through our Tuesday workout where we're gonna be focusing on some work capacity. So really trying to rev that engine. Remember the story of the tortoise and the hare in this one. We wanna be consistent, but we still wanna keep striving forward throughout this workout. It's gonna be a long one, so let's buckle up and let's get ready to roll. To get started, we're gonna start off with our warm-up. This is gonna be 2 different 4-minute AMRAPs. Remember, an AMRAP is as many rounds as possible in those 4 minutes. What we're gonna start with is some simple high knees. This is about 10 meters. Now, if you don't have 10 meters to spare in your home or something like that, that's okay. Let's just shoot for about 20 reps total, so about 10 on each side. This is about how many reps can you get in a short period, not necessarily about how far and fast you can travel. We just wanna get those knees up as high as we possibly can and make sure that we are landing softly and getting them to be quick feet. Then we'll be moving into 10 meters of butt kicks. So if you do have 10 meters, just down and back would be a good route for you. And just trying to bring that heel to your booty and making sure that your knee stays underneath your hips, doesn't drift forward all that much. That's what we're looking for in our butt kicks. Next is our power skips. To do a power skip, really just start with skipping. It might have been a few years for most of us since we were skipping along the playground and things, and that's okay. So just find some space. So when you're skipping, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta is what you should hear, and when you do hear that, you found your rhythm, and now you can actually start to move. When we're doing power skips, we're just gonna add a little bit more of an explosive jump to that. So as we lead to change legs, now we're just going to jump a little bit higher, trying to get as high off the ground as you possibly can. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, that's okay. Let's just stick with normal skipping or even just skipping in place. Next, we're moving into our inchworms with a push-up. We're gonna reach down, touch our toes, keeping our legs as straight as we possibly can to feel a good stretch in those hamstrings. And then you're gonna bring yourself out into a good push-up position, perform 1 push-up, and then tiptoe your toes right back in, trying to travel about 10 meters. If you don't have a push-up right now, that's totally fine. You can drop to the knees or challenge yourselves by lowering in that full plank and then just raising out of the knees and see how that works out for you. We're gonna do that for 4 minutes all the way through. Once you're done with that 4-minute AMRAP, we're gonna move to that next AMRAP. Our next 4-minute AMRAP is now gonna focus on some squats, a couple sit-ups, a little bit more core, a little less traveling. So here's what we're gonna go for. 10 squats to a sky reach. This is a simple squat where we're gonna keep our heels on the ground, making sure that our knees track over 2nd and 3rd toe, feet are around shoulder width apart or so, and all you wanna do is let those hips drop straight down, stand up by pressing into the floor and squeezing the glutes. As you reach the top, I want you to really think about making the body as long as you can and really reaching up to the sky. But when you reach, I want you to think about reaching with your heart, reaching with your chest all the way up to the sky and then sinking back down into that next squat. That's what we're looking for in our squat to sky reach. Then we're moving to our sit-ups. We're gonna take those feet, butterfly position with the feet. So feet together at the soles. All I wanna do is reach back, touch my hands to the ground, reach forward, touch my hands to the ground in front of my toes. That's gonna be our full sit-up. Now, if that feels a little funky to you, feel free to do some old school traditional sit-ups. That's totally fine, but we just need 10 quick sit-ups to get that core active. Next is 5 dive bombers, or dive bomb push-ups as they're known. So for those 5 dive bomb push-ups, we're going to go to a good plank position, good push-up position. We're gonna drive the hips high. So we're gonna shift some weight back to the toes. From there, we're simply going to lead with the nose all the way up, bringing the head back up, dropping the hips. And then I'm gonna lead with the hips and let the head follow on the way back. Now, if that's a little bit much for you, let's still try to lead with the head, drop the hips, and on the way up, let's just pick the hips straight up. That's gonna put us right back into that good down dog position to begin our next dive bomb. And lastly, we're gonna do 20 seconds of a light single arm farmer carry, our hold. So for our hold, just grab some weight, whatever you have around the house, and just hold that in one arm. Think about when you grab your groceries and you don't have quite enough and you still gotta get your keys into the door. Well, we wanna kind of simulate that where we have all that weight in one side and we're not letting it shift us over, we're not fighting it too much. We're just staying nice and centered, shoulders rolled back and down, not trying to use that shoulder to raise up. These traps get really tight already. Let's not make them any tighter. And we're just gonna hold that for about 20 seconds on each side. Once you finish that out, we're gonna go right back to the top, 4 minutes of that AMRAP. Once you're done with that part of the warm-up, we'll move into our training section where we really focus on that work capacity today. So let's stop there, let's get focused on this warm-up and check out these videos, and here we go with your warm-up. Great job in the warm-up teams. Time to get ready for our training section. This is an extended training section, so it's gonna be a long workout on this one. We have a 30-minute AMRAP, which means as many rounds as possible. And it's 30 minutes of non-stop movement. Our goal here is to really focus on work capacity and just continually move. So we're gonna rev that engine, meaning that heart and cardiovascular system. We're gonna really rev that thing up today. What I want you to think about is, again, the tortoise and the hare. Let's not start this one out so fast that you're exhausted after your 400-meter run and you have to take a long-winded break to be able to do the rest of this movement. Everything should be difficult around that 75–80% range, but we should not be trying to go as hard as we possibly can and then just crash, because that's not necessarily how we want to focus today. So for this work capacity workout, 30-minute AMRAP, as many rounds as possible, starting off with a 400-meter run. This should again be at a good pace. If you're not able to do a 400-meter run, which is about a quarter mile, then you can do about 3 minutes of work in your home, meaning jumping jacks. You could do jump rope, you could do mountain climbers, you could do a lot of different movements. Just try to non-stop move for about 3 minutes. High knees, butt kicks, what have you. Just get that heart rate up. Once you're done, you're gonna do 20 air squats. For our air squats, we wanna think about putting our feet somewhere between shoulder and hip width apart. They're gonna be slightly angled if needed, and all I wanna do is keep my heels on the ground. We're gonna go straight down with the hips, allowing the knees to track over top of my second and third toe as long as those heels stay down. And then once you get to the bottom, whatever feels comfortable to you, about the height of a chair, we're gonna push that ground away from us as much as we possibly can to stand tall. As you get to the top, squeeze those cheeks behind you, and that'll bring you to the top of the movement. If you want to scale that up slightly, you can do a jump squat. Exact same setup, except this time as you push into the ground, you're going to actually try and jump off the ground as high as you can. Now, when you land from that jump, it should be silent. Don't let anyone hear you. You're sneaking around trying to get a midnight snack without somebody else in the house hear you. So that's what we're looking for that air squat to a squat jump, depending on what level you're going for. Next, we're going for 10 single arm floor presses. For single arm floor presses, we're just gonna lay down on the ground on our back. Our elbow is gonna track somewhere around 45 degrees between my elbow and my rib cage, and I'm gonna try and press that weight straight up to the sky, just like a bench press. If you don't want to do that, or if you want to scale that up a little bit more, you could actually lay on a bench to get full range of motion, or even transition over to a push-up if you don't have any equipment for that. Whichever works for you, we're just trying to get you to do a good horizontal press of some kind. Single arm, so that means 10 on each, so make sure we hit both sides. Don't forget to do one or you'll walk out a little lopsided. Next, we'll go into 200-meter run. Same concept as before. We did about 3 minutes for the 400-meter. Now we can do about 90 seconds of conditioning for the 200-meter run if you don't have a space available to go outside and run. Next, we're going to 50-meter single arm slam ball bear hug carries. Now this is just similar to our bear hugs that we did the other day, but now we're going to hold it with one arm instead of two. So it's going to make us fight that lean, really challenge that midline in that core. So make sure that as you're holding your weight, it's not pulling you to the side. You're not arching your back to support the weight on your chest or anything. We're trying to stay nice and tall, centered, body doesn't change as if we were just standing here normally, and we're going to travel about 50 meters or so. If you don't have the space to go 50 meters, again, if it's raining outside, something like that, you could obviously walk around the house, walk in circles, things of that nature for roughly 50 meters, or we could just try to hold that weight for about 30 seconds on each side, and just maybe even do walking in place for about 30 seconds, and then shift over to the other side. That's going to be 50 meters on each arm. Next, we're going to keep challenging that midline, so working that core quite a bit today. We're going to be moving into our farmer carries on each side, 50 meters, same concept. Just like we did in our warm-up, we really want to make sure that we do not let that shoulder raise up and we don't lean with this. We want to have the shoulder back and down, and I stay centered the whole time. No leaning to cheat and hold on to the weight or letting it pull me down. That's what we're looking for that single arm farmer carry, 50 meters or again, roughly 30 seconds of just holding and even marching in place. Next, we're going for a 100-meter run. So for that, we're looking for 20 to 30 seconds of just conditioning. And since it's only 20 to 30 seconds, let's step it up a notch. This should be something like a no push-up burpee or maybe some squat jacks. I mean, something to really get that heart rate elevated for that short duration of time. Not that it won't already be, considering how much work we've already completed. Then we'll be moving into our 30 alternating unilateral V-up. So we are again hitting that core with our next 3 moves actually. But for that alternating V-up, we're going to lay on our back, right hand going to the opposing foot, left hand going to the opposing foot, keeping your knee and your elbow both pretty much locked out. Don't want to have too much bend in that. So trying to reach up and tap those toes. After you're done with that, you're going to go to super crunches for 20 reps. Super crunches, we're going to lay down on our back again, stay in that same position. And now I just want to bring my knees into my chest as my chest tries to meet them in the middle. So we're going to lay everything flat and then try and contract and bring everything together. That's what we're looking for in that super crunch. No capes involved, unless you want to wear a cape and really get a super crunch. Next, we'll go into 10 V-ups. That'll be our last movement for this one. Very similar to our super crunch, except now instead of bending at the knees and coming in, we're going to try to keep the legs straight. We're going to try to bring our body from a flat position up to the shape of a V, so my arms are straight and my legs are straight. Tap those two together and then lay back down. So we're trying to actually touch fingertips to toes, just like our alternating, but now all together. There's a lot of different movements in there. They tend to build on one another. A lot of core exercises, a lot of conditioning work. So let's watch these videos, make sure we understand our form, find some space, and let's get ready to rock this training section. Great job in that training section. I know your heart rate is through the roof right now. I know that your core is probably on fire. Take a second, grab some water, and let's just listen up while we go into our afterburner so we can kind of flush all that out, relax, and have a good recovery session before we just end our workout and go sit in our car or go sit on the couch or whatever you might be doing and get really tight and stiff. Instead, let's go into that afterburner. We're going to do about a minute stretch on each side for the majority. So we have a minute static stretch for our calves. Now our calf stretch can be very, very basic. We could lean just against a wall, or you could just stand in place, drop the heel behind you, and then just try to lean forward as far as you can. If you bend the knee, you're going to feel that lower part of the calf. If you keep the leg straight, you're going to feel more where your calf and hamstring meet. Depends on where you're tight, but let's make sure we hold that for about a minute on each side. Next, we'll go into our couch stretch, appropriately named because we could do this at home on the couch. So you can sit down on the floor, or you could put your leg into the cushion and back cushion of the couch, just looking for about a 90-degree area, even against a wall if you needed to. And all we're going to do is tuck those hips underneath those, squeeze those glutes, and that way our hips are open fully, and you're going to feel a big stretch in that hip flexor, so right in the front of the hip. Once you've held that for about a minute, and don't be afraid to go longer if you can. 2 to 3 minutes is great if you can afford the time, and you can also bear with it through that. I know most of us don't like to stretch, but if we can do it, let's go for it. And then the last part is just some athlete choice mobility. So obviously we did a lot of different conditioning today. You might be surprised with some of these carries, how sore your traps, maybe even your lats are. So doing some cross-body stretches and things like that, maybe just having somebody to rub your shoulders for a second, that always feels nice, would be a good option to help you recover. But let's just do a few more stretches just to make sure that you guys are feeling nice and loose and recovered. That's our workout today. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'm Coach Taylor, and we'll see you again soon.